Pittsburgh and Baltimore meet today in a rivalry that always feels older than the standings. At 6-6, both teams sit on the same cliff edge, knowing December doesn't forgive hesitation. These two don't just play football, they challenge each other's identity. Aaron Rodgers enters this game carrying the weight of bruises and expectations. His wrist is healing but not whole, and last week's performance showed a quarterback trapped between what his mind still sees and what his body can deliver. Yet Rodgers remains dangerous. He diagnoses defenses with a surgeon's clarity, and when he settles into rhythm, the field tilts. Across from him is Lamar Jackson, brilliant but visibly diminished. His legs, the source of Baltimore's chaos, aren't giving him the escape lanes he once owned. When Jackson is forced into a strict pocket existence, defenses stop fearing him and start hunting him. This matchup becomes less about perfection and more about who can endure the imperfections. And today's AI pick is Steelers +6. Will we cash or will we burn? On to Game 2.
Seattle walks into Atlanta convinced this is already a win, and that arrogance is exactly where cracks begin. The Seahawks are 9-3, rolling through the NFC, shutting out Minnesota last week like it was nothing. But blowouts create blind spots, and blind spots get punished in December. That's the part nobody wants to talk about. Sam Darnold is playing crisp, efficient football, protected by a defense that hits like a closing door. He has weapons everywhere, and Seattle believes they can simply out-talent Atlanta. But belief is not immunity. Kirk Cousins is limited, yes, but he's still dangerous when protected, and Bijan Robinson is the kind of back who can drag a game into the mud and keep it there. Atlanta loses often, but rarely by margin, and that distinction matters. They're beaten, but they're not broken. And broken teams don't cover spreads, but desperate ones do. Seattle may win. But domination? That's the lie the public bought. And today's AI pick is Atlanta +7. Will we cash or will we burn? On to Game 3.
Cleveland and Tennessee meet today in a game shaped less by fireworks and more by survival. These are two offenses searching for answers, two quarterbacks trying to steady teams that have spent the season leaning on their defenses to keep them afloat. The question isn't who explodes, it's who can avoid collapsing first. Cam Ward enters this matchup carrying the weight of every hit. 48 sacks taken, pressure on over a third of his dropbacks, and now he faces Myles Garrett, the league's most destructive force. Each snap becomes a test of endurance more than execution. On the other side, Shedeur Sanders is still learning the rhythm of the NFL, guiding an offense that moves cautiously, preferring short, safe throws over risk. Both defenses know exactly what they're facing: struggling units, conservative play calling, and drives that grind rather than surge. This is a game that tightens, slows, and suffocates momentum. And today's AI pick is under. Will we cash or will we burn? On to Game 4.
Miami and New York meet today in a game shaped by cold air and old pressure. December in the AFC East doesn't offer comfort. It strips teams down to what they truly are. The Dolphins arrive with momentum, but momentum doesn't warm hands or sharpen timing when the temperature drops into the low 40s. For Tua Tagovailoa, that matters. He's winless in every cold weather start of his career, and accuracy becomes a fragile thing when footwork stiffens and windows tighten. Across from him stands Tyrod Taylor, steady and mobile, guiding an offense that won't scare anyone but refuses to collapse. The Jets know who they are, a team leaning on a tough run game, a disciplined defense, and a willingness to drag opponents into the mud. Their pass defense is strong, their pace slow, and their games rarely open. Both teams want control, neither wants chaos, and that kind of tension holds the score down. And today's AI pick is under 41.5. Will we cash or will we burn? On to Game 5.
Tampa and New Orleans meet today in a rivalry where the records never predict the real fight. The Buccaneers enter at 7-5 with the division in reach. The Saints come in at 2-10, but this matchup has never cared about standings. These teams hit each other the same way every year: hard, close, and tighter than the spread ever expects. At quarterback, Tyler Show continues settling into his role. He's completed 107 of 164 passes for 1,068 yards with 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Not elite numbers, but steady enough to keep the Saints competitive when the protection holds. Today, he faces a Tampa pass defense ranked near the bottom of the league, a unit giving up yards to everyone. Show doesn't need to dominate. He needs to stay efficient, move the chains, and let New Orleans' defense shorten the game. Across from him, Baker Mayfield brings bigger volume. 243 completions on 387 attempts, 2,600 yards, and 19 touchdowns. But Tampa's offense rarely puts teams away early. Rivalry tension, defensive matchups, and pace all lean toward a close finish. And today's AI pick is the Saints plus 8.5. Will we cash or will we burn? On to Game 6.
Some games feel like they carry more weight than the standings can hold, and this one does. Indianapolis and Jacksonville both arrive at 8 and 4, but only one walks out with control of the AFC South. And in this stadium, history whispers louder than numbers. The Colts haven't won here since 2014, a full decade of doors closing the same way, no matter how the matchup looked on paper. Daniel Jones steps in with 256 completions on 377 attempts, 3,041 yards, and 19 touchdowns. But he's doing it on a weakened leg. The injury has tightened his movement, flattened his accuracy, and today he meets the league's #1 rushing defense, a unit that forces quarterbacks to throw when they don't want to. That's a dangerous place to stand. Across from him, Trevor Lawrence brings 236 completions for 2,636 yards and 16 touchdowns, and quietly, this Jaguars offense has surged, nearly 30 points a game since their bye. They're faster, cleaner, and more confident at home. Momentum, matchup, and the weight of 10 years all tilt the same direction. And today's AI pick is the Jaguars plus 1.5. Will we cash or will we burn? On to Game 7.
Krista here, stepping into the lights as Minnesota hosts Washington in a matchup between two teams starving for something steady. The Vikings have dropped 4 straight, but this dome has a way of giving them life, and today everything starts with J.J. McCarthy. His season has been chaotic, but Washington's defense has been far more forgiving than their reputation suggests. They're giving up 255 passing yards per game, one of the worst marks in the league, and that crack in the armor is where Minnesota has to strike. Protect the football, lean into timing routes, and let Justin Jefferson turn space into momentum. On the other sideline, Jaden Daniels brings juice, but the Commanders rely heavily on the run, nearly 139 yards per game, and when that disappears, so does their rhythm. Minnesota's defense isn't perfect, but at home, indoors, with cleaner footing and a quieter game script, they can force Daniels into 3rd and long situations that tilt the field. So here we stand, 2 wounded teams, 1 clearer path, and today's AI pick is Minnesota plus 1.5. Will we cash or will we burn? On to Game 8.
Ho, 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 ho! Gather close, because up in Snowy Orchard Park, we've got a December showdown that feels like Christmas morning and Judgment Day all at once. The Cincinnati Bengals roll in with renewed hope, carrying Joe Burrow back into the fight. But Santa sees the truth behind the twinkling lights. Burrow returned with 450 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, but he's still working through that toe injury, still adjusting to that carbon fiber plate, and still dragging along a defense that ranks dead last in points, yards, and 3rd down stops. Even magic can't fix all that in 1 week. And on the other sideline, here comes Josh Allen, Buffalo's winter-built quarterback. He's sitting at 2,832 yards and 19 touchdowns, fresh off a dominant performance where the Bills unleashed 249 rushing yards and let their top-ranked pass defense slam the door. December belongs to Buffalo. 23 wins in their last 27 games this time of year. And today's AI pick is Bills -6. Will we cash or will we burn? Oh, to the recap with Lilith.
8 stones were cast into the fire today, and each one glowed with a different fate. Game 1, Steelers +6 Game 2, Falcons plus 7 Game 3, under Game 4, under 41.5 Game 5, Saints plus 8.5. Game 6, Jaguars plus 1.5. Game 7, Vikings plus 1.5. Game 8, Bills minus 6. Spanish picks, Juego 1, Steelers más 6. Juego 2, Falcons más 7. Juego 3, menos 33.5. Juego 4, menos 41.5. Juego 5, Saints más 8.5. Juego 6, Jaguars más 1.5. Juego 7, Vikings más 1.5. Juego 8, Bills menos 6. 3, bajo 33.5. Juego 4, bajo 41.5. Juego 5, Saints plus 8.5. Juego 6, Jaguars plus 1.5. Juego 7, Vikings plus 1.5. Juego 8, Bills minus 6. Like and subscribe. Will we cash or will we burn? Im Schatten erkennt man das wahre Licht. Translation: In the shadow, the true light is revealed.